Even the best, the most technically skilled software developers will struggle to get the work done if they don't have some good productivity habits. Today I'm going to share with you some advice, a number of tips on how to build good productivity habits and how to build this good working environment around you so that you can maximize your productivity and so that you can become an even better software developer. I'm Gregory, you're watching Not Only Code. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's start. Work generally happens in two different modes, shallow mode and deep mode. Shallow mode is something that doesn't require a lot of focus. For example, attending a meeting is work, but you do not need to be very focused for 1.5 hours while attending the meeting. While, for example, writing code is something where you want to be focused, where you want to store a lot of information in your head, where you want to deeply understand what the system that you're working on does. The balance between the shallow and deep work depends on the profession. As a software developer, you ideally want to spend most of the time in the zone. You want to spend most of the time doing deep work. Deep work is harder to achieve than shallow work in the sense that it requires more time. Let's say I have half an hour between meetings. Even to just start working on something, I need like 15 minutes to ramp up, to focus on my work, and then I have just 15 minutes left. Therefore, these small periods of time are kind of waste of time. Of course, you can relax, you can do some shallow work, like you can check some requirements, but you can't do the core of your work. And our working environments often work against us. They are not optimized for large blocks of uninterrupted time, but not all is lost. Here's what you can do as a software developer in order to maximize your productivity, in order to optimize for this deep work, for large blocks of uninterrupted work. Number 1, good preparation. You can optimize your working time by minimizing the number of interactions that you need with other people while getting your work done. I've seen a lot of developers that start working on a task by jumping right into the implementation. They work on it for half an hour and then they realize that something is missing, so they stop. They go to product manager, they get the question answered, they go back to the code, another half an hour, another detail missing, another question to product manager. That way, you are worsening your productivity because you need to get out of your focus, you need to get out of your zone in order to get the question answered. And then you go back to code and you need another 15 minutes to really get focused. That's why good preparation is important. Separate your task into stages. One stage is understanding and preparing for everything that you need to implement. And the second part is actually implementing it. The first part is a bit of a more shallow work, so you can read the requirements. If you need some API access, if you need some external tools, check if you have them, check if they all work. If there are some details that you do not understand, write down the questions. You can also read a bit of the code, and if you have some doubts, just check whether the pieces that you think are there, whether they really are there, and whether there might be some issues that you did not initially expect. Once you have all these questions, once you have all the doubts, all the problems, schedule a call with your product manager, maybe also with a tester. Spend 15 to 30 minutes talking about the task, talking about some details, about some decisions that need to be made, so that as many questions as possible are answered before you start writing code. You may also want to talk to your tech lead or architect to discuss some potential implementation details so that you beforehand agree on a solution. Number 2, own your calendar. The more senior you are as a software developer, the more other people want from you. The more other people will want to schedule meetings with you, to ask you some questions, to get your opinion, to get your help. If your calendar is full of empty slots, that's an invitation for the others to see, oh, Gregory is free, I need his help, let's book a meeting here, Friday, 2 p.m. But maybe on Friday I planned to work on this bigger piece. I plan to work on this feature that will take me the whole day and I don't want anyone to interrupt me. You want to have as much uninterrupted time as possible, and in order to do it, you need to block this time for yourself. So here's how to find time across all your week. First, there are meetings that you will not be able to move. Let's say some all hands with your department. Let's say a sprint planning or product increment planning or whatever. Some meetings will just not be able to move. They're there, they're fixed every week or every month, and you need to work around them. But there are also a lot of meetings that you might move. For example, one-on-one with your manager. It happens on Wednesday at 11 a.m. and from 10 to 2 p.m. you don't have anything else scheduled. So just chat with your manager. Just say, hey, look, for me this time could be used on some deep work. Maybe we can move our meeting to some other slot. There is some kind of an idea that the higher in the hierarchy you are, the more busy your calendar is. Therefore, the people that report to you should adjust to you. But that's crap. Don't listen to that. My role as a manager is to help my team be as productive as possible. And if it makes someone productive to have this block of time every week, and if it helps them to do better job, then I will find something. I will find some other slot. I believe that at least for mid-level managers, it is easier to reschedule something to find some other spot because we don't need these large blocks of time as often as developers. Therefore, if you have some one-on-one meetings, if you have some meetings that maybe you can reschedule, just chat with other people. Next, find the blocks of time in your schedule where you have 3 or more hours where you don't have anything scheduled, and mark yourself as busy during this time. Do not mark the whole day 8 hours, but you can split it into 2 blocks, 3 hours, then 2 hours for lunch and some meetings, some interruptions, and then another 3 hours in the afternoon. If you mark yourself as busy, then people will be more reluctant to schedule something during this time. Of course, it will happen, but it will happen less often. And if there are some smaller meetings, people will ask you, hey, I see that you're busy, maybe you can join the meeting at this time, but at least they will more respect it. It's kind of unfortunate that it comes to that you need to mark yourself as busy in the calendars, that you will not be interrupted, but that I've seen it work multiple times, so give it a try. And finally, remember that this is not written in stone. So some of these times, even if you are not interrupted, you will not be very productive. Let's say that you start your productivity time after lunch, but after lunch you've got lower level of energy. So maybe it will not work. So maybe then you can just see, okay, this is the time where I can be interrupted, this is the time where I can work with others, this is the time where I can attend some meetings. But you will rather keep some time for yourself in the morning because that's when you have more energy. Another thing you can do is when you have some meeting, ask the organizer whether you are needed there. A lot of people just add anyone who might be interested to a meeting, and then you go there and it appears that you are not needed. So ask the organizer, hey, do you need me there? What is the goal of this meeting? Maybe you can just send me a summary and ask me some questions after the meeting and I can answer them via email. Managing your schedule, managing your calendar is a tricky thing. A lot of people struggle with that. I certainly do. But don't get discouraged if sometimes your uninterrupted time suddenly becomes full of meetings. It is a long-term thing. Make sure that over long term you figure out the slots of time, the parts of your schedule where you can focus on your deep work. And if sometimes it doesn't work, just keep going. Just next week, make sure that nobody interrupts you.
Number 3, split your tasks into smaller pieces.
Your work is not one long piece. You will be writing a lot of functions. You will be writing different parts of the feature. And it is good to just write them down and to think about what you want to do step by step. Do not tackle the whole feature at once. Plan it ahead, split into smaller parts, and then do them one by one. That will help you in a number of ways. For example, you will not get lost in the feature. You will not get lost in your work. Sometimes it is hard to keep so much information in your head when you're coding. And knowing step by step what you're going to do allows you to remove some of this information from your head. So you have to touch a number of pieces in the application that you're working, and you start with the first one, you finish it, you cross it out. You know that that part is done. You do not have to remember all the details about how it works there anymore. Next, you can take some small breaks. Even if you have 4 hours of uninterrupted working time, it is very hard to remain focused for 4 hours. So you can do one thing, and then you can take a small break, and then you can go to another thing. During that break, you can stay kind of focused, but you do not have to think, you do not have to actively code. You can just close your eyes and relax. By the way, a small rant. This is also why the productivity guru's favorite time management technique, the pomodoro technique, doesn't work well for software developers. Pomodoro technique says divide your time into half-an-hour blocks, and then you've got 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes break. But it doesn't work like that for software developers. Sometimes, after the 25 minutes, I still have something in the function that I'm writing that I want to finish. I don't want to take a break now and later get back to it. I want to finish and then take a break. So the Pomodoro technique optimizes for blocks of fixed time. But as software developers, we don't know how much time a certain part of work will take. So we need to optimize for the work done. We need to optimize for the items on the list, not for the time. End of the rant. Even during your uninterrupted time, you will get a message from another developer saying, hey, I need to pick your brain on something. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? Or hey, I have this question, maybe you can answer it. You may not want to answer it immediately because everything goes out of your head. But if you split your work into smaller pieces, then after one piece of work, then you can have this small break and then you can jump to that message and answer it then. Of course, that's not ideal. You want to have your uninterrupted time, your focus time just for yourself. No distractions, no notifications, no messages. But we're talking about real life here. Yes, it is possible to have it this way. It is possible to work asynchronously. It is possible to have the whole day without any interruptions, but it's not always possible. And not a lot of companies, not a lot of working environments allow for this kind of stuff constantly. So these small breaks where you can answer some messages are kind of a compromise, where it allows you to stay focused on your work without, getting drawn into something longer, but it also allows you to deal with some immediate attention that people need from you. Productivity and time management are tricky things, and especially for software developers who need large blocks of time where they can focus on deep work. This becomes challenging, especially in environments and in roles where a lot of people rely on your help, a lot of people need something from you. Some productivity gurus will sell you courses on how to be the master of your calendar, how to be fully productive, how to achieve your full potential. And I read some of these courses, I watched some of them. Generally, the advice there is not bad. The problem is that there is no magic. There is no silver bullet. There is just work to be done. In order to maximize your productivity, in order to be able to do a lot of deep work, you need to build good habits. Today, I showed you a number of tips on how to improve your productivity, on how to build good habits around your schedule. They are more advanced techniques. They are more interesting techniques I will get back to in the future. But for now, check it out, try out what I've told you today and see how it can improve your productivity. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Take care.